Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Hey, what's up?
Happy day.
Hey, let's start it out with an audio cut. All
Sure,
right?
why not? We're in the audio business. So.
It is from Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni. Now,
Yeah.
she's speaking in Italian.
Yeah. She's great.
We will decipher afterwards, but the last two words you'll understand, unless you speak Italian.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Il problema è che c'è una persona che bisogna ringraziare e non è né Greta Thunberg né Landini né Francesca Albanese, si chiama Donald Trump.
Quote, the problem is that there is one person you have to thank, and it is neither Greta Thunberg nor Landini, who is the head of the biggest trade union.
Yeah.
Wields a lot of influence, a socialist over in Italy. It's called Donald Trump. The problem is that there is only one person you have to thank. It's neither Greta Thunberg nor Landini. It's Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And then she says, President of the United States of America.
Yeah. Love it. I love listening to people speak Italian. I can understand, problema, I understood it. There's a lot of words that are very similar or almost exactly the same as in Spanish. And so there are a few words I understand. Donald Trump, I understand in Italian. But for some reason, I could sit there and listen to it all day. I have no idea what they're saying, but I love it. And in this case, because we have the translation, she's right.
Well, I would like to give credit for both you and myself.
Yeah.
For how we help solve this crisis in Gaza. Because Eric and I, look, after hearing, seeing Joe Biden's statement, wanting to take his part of the credit, you made the great point that you and I are more responsible for the peace deal in Gaza than Joe Biden is.
Now, that doesn't say a lot by comparison, but we can say it. Get your own radio show if you want to say you also have greater responsibility in this equation than he does.
No. But I can make the case.
Yeah.
Because you made the case off the air to me.
Yeah. Well, he's the one who funded Iran.
Right. The guy who...
By the way, the one person in the world, the entire world, Joe Biden, and that's not hyperbole.
No.
He's the one.
He ensured that Hamas was well funded in order to go in and commit the horrendous genocide terrorist attack of October 7th.
Yep.
He is the one that opened the money spigot for Iran.
Yep.
And therefore, since Eric and I did less damage than Joe Biden, we believe we deserve more credit than Joe Biden for the situation in Gaza. And what the heck? So do all of you out there listening right now.
Right. Give me the George Nobel Peace Prize or whatever it is. It's
my God.
When I read that, I'm like, does he know nobody likes him anymore? And that's not, I'm not just being flippant. I don't think anybody likes Joe Biden
I don't know
anymore.
if he put off the statement from what I know he's undergoing radiation treatment now.
Yeah.
For his cancer.
Well, it did. That statement seemed first-handed. Unless somebody wrote that for him first-handed.
Well, I think it was Sir Autopen.
That arrogant, arrogant little piece of AI.
Did you forget about that?
Can we get the Italian officials to curse the auto pen in Italian?
So I'm just going through the day yesterday because it was one of those days where, I mean, it was a great day. It was a great day for the United States, a great day for the world, a great day. Let's, in fact, hear some of the celebration that was going on last night in Israel. Here we go. So there you go, and it was interesting. It was a fascinating day. The imagery was incredible, and now the concern is, as we had stated even before this, you look in the UK, okay, with the violence going on now, the different factions in Gaza, will there be a civil war, and what do you do in that particular case? How do you get a hold of that before it gets out of control?
Right.
The president did say we move right now to step 2 now.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
The
thing is that there's no time for a parade here. It's God bless the families who are celebrating, and they should celebrate. They should celebrate. But those that are in charge of carrying out this 20-point plan need to keep their nose to the grindstone and make sure that at every turn. By the way, I think, and I can't imagine the impossible list of impossible tasks that will be required. But as you saw, and as we've mentioned, you've got a global effort. You've got many countries that have their hand in this. And so that's the idea. But you cannot, and I think Trump is somebody who wants to, there are a couple of things. Given his own, personal feelings towards this whole thing, just his personality in general, he's a guy who loves to celebrate his own victories. That's a good thing here because you don't certainly want to spoil this victory with any failure. A victory of this size is something that is quite literally a legacy maker, a kind of legacy that are few and far between. And so the potential here for that is good, but what that ultimately means, and the most important part of it, is you have to have that peace that is long-lasting, and that effort has to be, again, everybody can applaud, but day number 2, you go straight to the next step. Well, and there must be enforcement.
Well, and the next step is, I was reading the New York Post story where 7,000 Hamas soldiers now will be there to kill anybody in the opposition because the goal now is to just kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing left but Hamas when you try to form, the technocrat government as they're saying. You make it impossible, which is why then Israel needs to go right back in.
Yep.
And go back to war. The only reason this happened is because the United States government did not enable the terrorists.
Right.
I don't think anybody said that in that blunt way yesterday.
Yeah.
Just in that blunt way. The only reason this is happening is because the United States, because Trump, who, of course, represents the United States, said no. You either take the peace deal or you die.
Yep.
We'll let Israel do whatever they want. That's still the case. That's still the case here. They backed off to the one line, but it's only one line.
Yeah.
They believe they can keep most of the arms out. If they can't, then Israel needs to go right back in again.
Yep.
Because that's from what I can see, that is possibly the goal. Of course, that's the goal of any Islamic radicalist, jihadist. That's the goal. That isn't going away. I don't know when that will go away. It certainly won't be in my lifetime. It might be under a different label, but right now Hamas is reorganizing to completely take over Gaza, as was expected.
Yep.
That according to the article in the New York Post. Right.
They actually talked about it last week and said that's the first thing we expect.
And so the only solution to that is, okay, we got the hostages out. Now we need to go to part 2. You don't agree to it, you die. The only reason this worked is because America projected military power through Israel.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And Trump was able to get other countries, including inside the Middle East, on board, which may down the road be even more important. Looking at the entire umbrella of the Middle East and where it's going, is in all likelihood in history, if he can accomplish that, which would be the Abraham Accords, more important than what as much as a celebration was and the 20 lives were saved, if you can get Abraham Accords with these countries and get the Middle East itself to do it, you'll save over decades, millions of lives.
Yeah, sure. Right.
But the projection of American military power is the only thing that got this done.
Yep.
Does Trump recognize it? Well, with his response, his immediate response on Ukraine and the Tomahawk missiles, it seems like, and what has happened with Ukraine over the last, couple of weeks, the last month, really, where he's gone much harder on Russia, he seems to understand that.
Yeah, and he mentioned yesterday he thinks the bombing of Iran was a big play in this. We've talked about that.
Yes.
You're setting a tone. He, in his comments, made it also sound like Hamas was no longer under the thumb of Iran because they no longer had nuclear weapons, as if Iran was using those nuclear weapons in order and that power to leverage against Hamas. I don't know that to be the case. I never looked at it that way or thought of it that way. Somebody with Intel would have to tell me if that is the case. I looked at it as you and I always do, and it's like-minded individuals and groups who are carrying out the same mission.
I will say this. The fact that Iran had that kept, I believe, other countries from becoming closer to the United States.
Yeah.
The fear of that,
yeah.
which then again could embolden Hamas and their leadership. For example, the leadership of Hamas in Qatar. Well, after October 7th, you saw Qatar aligned much more closely militarily with Israel. Then Trump becomes president, and that increases. And then Israel takes out Hamas leaders inside Qatar. There really isn't massive protest. There's a little bit, and the next thing you know, Qatar is part of the, leading the forefront of the Middle Eastern countries trying to keep this peace deal done. Yeah. So I think in that context, it does, because they know it's going to take how long, what their intelligence agencies tell them, will be another decade. But we all know if a Democrat gets into office in 2028, it all changes again.
Oh, yeah.
The enabling of terrorists continues.
Yep.
We saw it with the Biden administration, and no Democrat complained about no Democrat complained. In fact, they thought it was a great thing. If we fund Iran, they'll be nicer.
Well, I'm waiting for the first whoever's going to be in the lineup of 28 on the Democratic side to suggest giving more money to Iran, and they'll say we need to give them reparations for taking out their nuclear site.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's so that's so ridiculous.
I was going to pose that as a joke,
right?
But quite frankly, I don't think it's funny because it's probably true. But you're right. If from that angle, other nations thinking, oh, we can't rock the boat with Iran. I never believed Hamas, or I guess I didn't ever think of Hamas thinking of Iran as that, as much as Hamas thought we're aligned with Iran. But other nations, you got to stay in line with Iran if they have that kind of power, which they do not at the moment. And I think a big part of that was the bombing of their nukes.
Absolutely. That's because that's the power base and the funding to Hamas, as we know, and Hezbollah,
right,
and the Houthis,
right.
And you need to take out the head of the snake,
yep,
or the power of the head of the snake.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But so far, a great start. And what happening in Gaza with Hamas, not a surprise, expected.
Yeah.
And so this isn't a one thing where it's done. This is a long process to do this.
Right.
And
there wasn't a change of heart by Hamas. This is the one thing that if you don't follow situations like this closely, or if you were watching all the celebration yesterday, don't take this as any kind of kumbaya between the two parties here, Hamas and Israel.
Ew.
It is nothing of that sort and will never be until Hamas is gone. And this was expected. Again, they've been talking about this in recent days. They expected this.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. The document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number, or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, this was put together, this collage. It's John King and Dana Bash on CNN a few months ago, back in May. And inserted into it is former hostage Omer Shamtov, who said Hamas was very scared of Trump and they wanted Kamala to be elected. But the whole thing is about what CNN, how they were talking about Trump just a few months ago. Here we go.
The premise of this whole conversation was an expectation that Donald Trump himself set in the campaign, which is, I'm going to fix all of this. And a lot of people believed it. It turns out even the Hamas terrorists, apparently, who were holding hostages.
Yeah, they wanted
Who?
the terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected.
The war is definitely not over, and not all hostages are out.
Not all hostages are out. And again, another thing that Donald Trump said would end. But the rest of the world is saying Donald Trump cannot be trusted on these issues where America used to lead. There is American leadership here. It's Netanyahu, do whatever you want. It's not, how do we end this? Where's an American president to try to figure this out?
Well,
he just wants Gaza empty so they can build hotels.
I think it's the same idea of what we were talking about with Ukraine, is that he didn't understand why it wasn't being done before he was there. Then he got into office and realized, wow, this is really, really hard. And now he's turned his attention elsewhere. So.
Yeah. Wow. Pretty amazing.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Carly, and I'm McNamara. Good morning. Let's play some audio, okay?
All right.
You want to? Let's.
Sure.
Former Obama Secretary of Defense and CIA Director Leon Panetta on the Gaza peace deal.
This achievement, and it is a significant achievement, would not have happened without United States leadership. President Trump deserves a lot of credit for bringing the parties together.
Deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Let us get to what else can we find here that would be good. All right. I want to play this Scott Jennings.
Okay.
And listen to what in the hell is Cornel West? Why is he a part of any narrative anymore? Is it like we need the old communist socialist out there like Bernie?
I guess.
But listen to this. Here we go. This is,
But I've been wearing this pin for 2 straight years, waiting for these hostages to come home, and I've been waiting to take it off, and I'm going to take it off tonight because the 20 people came out, and I met some of the families earlier this year, and I've been following their stories quite closely, and I'm going to replace it with an American pin, American flag pin, because in my opinion, this was a huge victory for the American people, led by our president. But it was only through the power and the force of will of the President of the United States that 20 people returned to their families, that we have the beginnings of the possibility of a peaceful era in the Middle East, and that maybe a future can be had by millions upon millions of people in a place where it's sometimes hard to visualize the future. And so I couldn't be prouder to be an American tonight, because without the United States and without our president, this doesn't happen.
But Brother Scott, though, are you concerned about the Palestinians? Can you take that off for the Palestinians and all of their stuff?
Well, I'm concerned about what's happening to them right now. They're being shot in the street by Hamas.
Well, they're under occupation, and it just had 20,000 babies killed in 23 months. I mean, do you believe that a hostage on the by Palestinians has the same value as a Palestinian incarcerated? I just have to ask that question.
I don't regard some of the people that were in prison in Israel to be hostages. These were terrorists that we had to let go in order to get these 20 people back. The 20 living hostages did nothing wrong. Many, as Abby pointed out in her monologue, of the people the Palestinians wanted released are absolute terrorists who killed many people.
Have no trial. And
wow. Well, it's a war.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
he's conflating two of them. He's conflating the ones that had life sentences that were convicted with the ones that were taken off the battlefield.
Right.
How delusional can you be? As he gets older, Cornel West just gets more delusional and more. There is no basis in any type of reality. There's no connecting the dots. There's no connecting what happened on October 7th and what happens during a war.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but they don't, the left, as they most often do, but with this scenario, they have left out the biggest part of the equation. It's almost like they deny October 7th happened.
Yeah.
Remember, not long after October 7th, they took a group of global journalists inside a small theater, and they showed them the footage shot by Hamas of the atrocities they committed. And the response was, oh my gosh, overwhelming. It was just devastating for them. But outside of that, the liberal activist media all around the world and the left all around the world just wanted people to believe, or they wanted to believe, October 7th never happened.
Yeah, they pretended it didn't exist and Israel was just creating a genocide.
Yes.
Israel just decided one day, let's do a genocide.
Reason.
Right.
Yep.
Of course, when you take out context, you take out the truth.
Which is what they always have to do in anything they want to try and debate.
Here's Bill Maher on his drinking podcast, on his alcohol podcast with actor William Macy.
Oh, okay.
Right, here we go.
I always say this: you cannot ever deny success. You just have to give your respect, even if it's not your thing. Don't have the humility to give it up for enormous success on any level.
I agree.
Trump, not my choice. Didn't vote for him, but somehow,
a lot of people did.
And he's. I can't deny the success.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Well, okay. First of all, William H. Macy is always going to be one character for me, and that's it. Fargo. And you just heard it right there. Oh, yeah. No, you can't deny it. Can't deny the success there. Just one guy gets that credit there.
Here's ABC's James Longman in Israel. Here we go.
I think today what I've been mostly struck by is Donald Trump's sheer force of personality. There are not many men, not many leaders who can walk into the Knesset in Israel to such rapturous applause, such a warm welcome, to clearly know so many members of the Israeli leadership so personally. He's been in the weeds on this, and then less than an hour later, appear in a room of world leaders, Arab and Muslim leaders, and have the same kind of warm welcome. It really is his force of nature which has managed to make this happen. I mean, I was struck that he was standing on that stage here in Sharm el-Sheikh, welcoming world leader after world leader, many of whom he's had his disagreements with, as we know. And it wasn't President Sisi of Egypt doing that. It was him. He is front and center here. His force of will, he has said what he wants to happen. He's laid out this 20-point plan. The objectives are very clear. And, of course, the big question is how we get there.
There you go. That's ABC.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to it again because it's as if, the left is trying to figure out the formula here. You know, I mean, how did, he gets a little bit of,
yeah, what's our angle? How much, how far can we go?
Well, where was it? Let me just see. I want to see it. Let me just, before I get to the point I want to make, I think it was Britt Hume wrote here. I think I saved it. Britt Hume. So what are diehard never-Trumpers like Bill Kristol and George Conway posting about President's triumph and the return of the hostages? The answer, absolutely nothing. It's as if it didn't happen. Because if you're going to look at this and say, like Leon Panetta did, that Trump was successful, why was Trump successful? Let's get to the heart of the matter. It's exactly what we said last half hour. It's what we said yesterday. It's what we've always said. American leadership and the projection of American power and not enabling terrorists, but actually giving them an ultimatum, and if they don't, you make a red line, and if they cross it, they're dead. I know that sounds uncivil to some people out there. That's the reality of the world of people that want you dead.
Well, and that's it. It's why I felt it was actually great that the president mentioned bombing Iran yesterday, because there was a lot of, and should be, a lot of euphoria and celebration, especially in Israel. But beyond that, the world needs to be reminded how you get there.
Right.
And you don't get there by funding Iran, giving them the ability to fund Hamas like Joe Biden did.
Or a deal like Obama did.
I was about to say, the Iran deal where you just give them their money back, knowing what they're going to do with it, and then go on this weird debate campaign as if you did the moral thing here.
Well, you create, as he did, the Iran deal. That was a deal that would get them to a nuclear weapon and didn't have the proper safeguards in there.
Yep.
And so I want to, let me play this here. Stephen A. Smith talking about it. And people that disagree with Trump a lot, but are coming around saying he's doing some good ideas, nobody really still gets to the heart of what did Trump do differently?
Right.
Here we go.
There is no doubt that he has done more than practically almost any administration has tried to do when it comes to ending conflicts around the world. And he's put himself in a position where the political capital that he stands to gain isn't necessarily that great. So his willingness to do so is obviously something that shouldn't be ignored and something that should be, dare I say, applauded to some degree.
He said a great thing. He's doing all these things, and the political reward from it will not be that great.
Yeah.
That's a great point that Stephen A. Smith made there. Now, he didn't get to why Trump is succeeding at this and why he succeeded in this deal, and it's very, very simple. You don't enable terrorists. Right. That's simple. You don't fund the United States presidents shouldn't fund terrorists. Right. United States presidents should not create deals that make it so that it was easier for Iran to get a nuclear weapon and fulfill the deal that they made with the United States.
Right.
What got us to this particular point is the taking out of Iran's nuclear capabilities and telling Hamas no more. Do what we say or you're all dead. Yeah. The Israeli army can do whatever they want at that. The IDF can do whatever they want at that point with the backing of the United States of America. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. That's what changed it. And everybody, what was about? Well, has this charisma. He has that. That's fine, but it's all backed. It's like imagery. This is, the liberals, remember when Rush said, what was it, Rush Limbaugh I'm talking about, said that, not the band, said liberalism is symbolism over substance.
Right.
What Trump is doing here in this particular case is a ton of symbolism backed by a ton of substance.
Yes.
The symbolism itself means nothing if it's not backed by substance, and that's what Trump did here, and he should be credited for it. But it should be conservatives and Republicans that say, this is why it happened. Mm-hmm. To the American public, understand this is why we got to this point. We didn't get to this point by appeasing terrorists. And that's what Democrats do.
Yep.
They enable and they appease and they fund terrorism.
And they'll do it again the moment they're in power again.
And it's like, I know it might not be popular with people on the wall. How dare you? There's a celebratory. Yeah, the celebratory atmosphere that happened and we saw yesterday and we saw in the United States and we saw in Israel was only based on one cold, hard fact.
Yep.
The message was clearly sent and they believed it. The people that want to kill us were told, you're going to die, and they believed it.
Yep. Yep. And again, the diplomacy side of it is great and wonderful, but the diplomacy side of it is nothing if you don't have, again, the power. This is what it comes to. You've got to have this peace through strength. If you don't have the power and the will to use that power when necessary. But it benefits all parties. And so does cooperation. Because then you get into trade deals, then they have other interests, and allowing groups like Hamas or any other terrorist group to operate within their borders becomes riskier and riskier to their entire bottom line as a nation, their entire economy and existence. You demonstrate that over and over again, and the picture becomes very, very clear. The left doesn't know how to handle this. But the right needs to know how to promote it.
Well, they don't know how to handle it because the truth is the opposite of what they would do.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of why this deal was done is the opposite of what they believe.
Well, you brought it up yesterday during the show. Look at the juxtaposition of trying to set up that pier in Gaza.
Yeah.
My gosh.
I know.
Biden didn't do anything but bungle everything.
866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The Babylon Bee, the one headline, and I'm doing it from memory here, but I laughed out loud when I saw it. Democrats vow to keep government shut down until someone notices. Isn't that great? It's like everything's going on. It's like,
funny.
Oh, that's right. The government's shut down.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
wow. Yeah, that's funny. Great headline.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
all across America. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right. More audio. It's funny because all I did was, when I woke up yesterday, never got my lawn work done. There was just too much to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll get it done. I'll get it done on Tuesday. I did trim, some of the grass in the backyard. That took about 5 minutes.
All right.
That was later on in the afternoon, but there was just too much audio out there and too much to read. This is from Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, complimenting the president.
I have to tell you, I've seen a lot of American presidents. Seen them all in the time that I've been here, and I've been here quite a lot of time. I've never seen anyone move the world so quickly, so decisively, so resolutely as our friend President Donald J. Trump.
So there you go. The only thing that I miss is that I missed was the fact that we weren't still on the air when he made the speech.
Yeah,
they're making the speeches right after.
Yeah,
so that was...
it was good to see as they were basically walking into the chambers, and we played that audio as the applause and standing ovation was happening, and that was literally going out the door yesterday morning at almost 5 a.m. Central. But yeah, having to go home and watch that. I mean, we love covering stories like this, especially stories that have this kind of ending for the families in Israel, but then beyond that, so much potential behind it further down the road. And that's really, I don't know of any other story in my career that comes close to this one in terms of all of the moving parts of this one and the effect potentially that it could have. And then you look at a political legacy of a Donald Trump that quite possibly, again, you and I have talked about it. History has different eyes and judges with different eyes. It tends to be more factual because even those who would, 50 years down the road, whatever you want to say, might be on the other side, the opposite side, political spectrum of a Donald Trump, of course, he would no longer be a threat. He would no longer be in power and the whole thing, and they would look at what was accomplished, you look at what happened, and then, of course, they're going at that time, maybe historians not so much, but the legacy liberal activist media, if they're still around 50 years from now, is going to be doing what they've always done, and they're going to be focused on the Hitler of at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, I saw the meme yesterday. It didn't go away, and it was Hitler helps Israel, and there were several different versions. Gets the 20 hostages home, brings peace to the Middle East, and all of these things. And it's with Netanyahu and this relationship. And it was interesting because if you remember, not just the bombing of Qatar was a heavily emotional day for the president. He was clearly out of sorts and wasn't happy in that situation when Israel bombed Qatar. And it was like, he was getting on Marine One that morning. And it was, there were things going on. And now when you can step back, Marco Rubio posted a few hours ago on X, basically implied that one day we'll learn everything that it took for this particular president to pull this off. But it's amazing the things that he did to get this done.
Two things that I liked yesterday. After the hostages were released, the fact that he made it clear that the throttle keeps going down on this peace agreement, that they're not going to back off on it. And the other part is he brought up the wider issue of these countries now ready to start negotiating an Abraham Accord.
Yeah.
And that I thought was just because you need to do both of those. And we had talked about that yesterday, what the next step is, and the fact that he mentioned that was great. All right, let's play Chris Cuomo talking about it.
All right.
All right, here we go on News Nation. Here, all right.
First, the easy part. I didn't think it was going to happen. Bravo to America. Bravo to the Trump administration. Bravo to President Trump, especially something I really didn't expect. What I thought was just going to be a regular Trump victory lap. He brought in so many countries to celebrate this. Why? Because they made it happen? Nope. But because he needs them to make what needs to happen next happen. Very smart. Very smart. Now, why is that hard to say? Because in our politics, you cannot recognize the other side. It is like saying Hitler has a nice haircut. You can't do it. And that's why we're dying.
Now, the point that I would like to make there is, and I know it happens. You've got the partisans on both sides. It's not how I've ever played the game, and I've been doing this now. Well, I've been a talk radio host into my 37th year. And overall, paying attention to the news and being involved even in the media in news for over 43. So that's not how you and I have ever played the game. If our party does what we believe is right, we'll tell you. If our party, and I don't have a party right now, I'm an independent, I'm a registered independent, but if the party that I favor does the right thing, we'll compliment it. If the candidate I like does the right thing, I'll compliment them. If they do the wrong thing, I'll tell you why they're wrong, in my opinion. And the same for the other side. But the fact is, if you look at Republicans, there's a ton of great things that Republican ideas out there. On the Democrat side, tell me one. Tell me one. I mean, that's
I've been asking that question.
When you look at everything, when you look at all the the top 10 issues out there that we had brought up last year, and we laid them out one by one by one by one, and they're insane. Open borders, crazy. Defund the police, nuts. The radical transgender movement.
Transgender surgery for minors.
Right. The critical race theory. Whites are culturally racist to the point that it might as well be in their DNA, and we must set up society as if all whites are racist. Insane. Everything that they believe is so freaking bonkers. The support for Hamas that we've seen out there, the support for communism that we see with Mamdani out there. The rejection of the U.S. Constitution and the separation of powers that we see, the not believing in the Second Amendment, the not believing in the First Amendment, to the Constitution of the United States, wanting free speech rights gone. All these things are so incredibly radical that it's not if both sides would just compliment the other one. Again, he's trying to play the both sides thing, and it's not both sides. There are some things that I disagree with with Republicans, and we have mentioned that. But you look at the Democrats, and it's not a disagreement. It's looking at pure insanity heading your way.
Well, it's to the point that I was waiting. I was almost convinced that yesterday we'd see some radical leftists say, look, we'll go to Gaza and start our own war. If Hamas can't get it done, we'll go and start our own war. I mean, because it's become that. They have become the violent party, the party of violence and destruction. And I've been asking for years, what is the Democratic Party promoting that they're going to do for you? What do they want to do that's actually going to make your life better?
Well, let me play. I got a couple of audio cuts to address this. I want to play this, for example. This is Fox News' Mike Tobin asking former Illinois Representative can't pronounce his name there. Louis, is it? Not sure how to spell it, but his former Illinois representative.
Okay. All right.
And he asked him this question here about what's the argument. What about the argument that ICE and the Border Patrol are simply enforcing the laws of that Congress writes? Okay, now it's something that you and I have talked about before, right?
Yep.
And that the elected representatives, that the elected representatives through the people of the United States created these laws. There's nothing authoritarian about them. It was as Democrat Republic as you could get, right?
Yep.
All right. Here's this. Here we go.
What about the argument that ICE and Border Patrol are simply enforcing the laws that Congress writes?
We passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and tens of thousands of people were brutalized during the Civil Rights Act so we could be judged on the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
What the hell does that have to do with illegal immigration? That's like me asking you saying 1 + 1 is, why is 1 + 1 + 2? And I say, because my Bills suck and they lost last night.
Yeah.
One has nothing to, you can't even have a coherent conversation with them.
No, because they've gone back to the enforcing the border is racist. That's what they want you to believe. Enforcing the border is racist.
Right.
They've been on this for a while.
Got nothing to do with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Nope. Absolutely nothing.
Nope.
Absolutely nothing to do with it. This is how, again, I don't. I'm thinking, because I watched over the weekend the biography of Thomas Edison, which I just love, and I mentioned it, I think, on yesterday's show. And it was the first book I bought as a kid. I was in elementary school. There was a book fair.
Yeah.
I went and bought a book, and it was, I can still remember, hardcover book.
Right.
And all I remember is when he was asking so many questions, the teacher said, "Thomas Alva Edison, you are addled. You don't think clearly." And every time when I saw that comment from that Democrat there, that's what I think. They don't think clearly.
Right.
You can't have a conversation. There's no connecting the dots. What do you think about immigration law? Immigration laws are Congress passing laws for illegal immigrants who are not citizens of the United States, who are here illegally, and they're enforcing the laws of Congress. What do you have to say? Civil Rights Act, content of their character. You don't think clearly.
Nope. No, because you can't have the actual debate. Because the moment you do, you get defeated. When you talk about the truth. That the federal government has an obligation to enforce our borders.
And so when you talk about, Israel, whatever, they just can't. And I was thinking the other day, I saw Marie Bartiromo talking about that the Democrats don't want to pass, don't want to get government back in session because the No Kings protest is coming up.
Okay. All right.
And what if they want to be in town for the No Kings something like that? I forget. I still don't fully understand the argument that they want to be in. This is all about the No Kings protest.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you're going to hold that after everything that just happened in Israel.
Right. No, I wondered about that when we were leaving here yesterday. Because Monday being the holiday, we know that, they're not getting back to work until later today on Capitol Hill. So I just thought to myself, where do you go if you're on the left from this? Because you can't win the imagery and substance of what happened over this. And on top of that, there's still work being done. We saw how many nations now are part of this 20-point plan. Trump brought together nations. Chris Cuomo pointed this out. How many were part of this, are still part of this group, and need this 20-point plan to work? And you're going to start bickering again about a continuing resolution? Look, we have some issues with spending. We think the Republicans have given up when it comes to fiscal responsibility, with the exception of a few, maybe a few. I don't even know if there's a few. There might be one. There might be a half. And the fact is, it's the Babylon Bee headline. The world was watching yesterday morning. The world has been watching, and this is going to resonate. What happened yesterday is going to resonate, and if the plan is successful, keep resonating on a global scale, and the left have these petty little arguments with no basis whatsoever.
Well, and plus, like I said, the whole Nazi, fascist, authoritarian, no kings protest, we're not going to have a king, as he just probably strikes one of the biggest things in the Middle East. Rubio said in 50 years, and Trump must have been listening to us because Trump goes, oh, maybe longer?
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
goes, okay, 100 years. I'm like, that's exactly what we said last night.
Yes.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Gardeners, getting the garden ready for overwintering and in good shape for next spring? What are some things to consider? Cynthia Domangini of Kansas State University Extension offers advice, starting with,
if you have a large area, consider looking at cover crops. Some cover crops can be planted early fall time. That's a great way to protect your soil through the winter and contribute nutrients back into the soil for your spring planting.
Then there are the basic fall prep tips for getting a garden ready for overwintering to keep in mind.
Start cleaning up plant debris to prevent overwintering diseases and pests. If you would like to grow bulbs, planting those in the fall is important to get them to bloom in the spring. Some people have good intentions and they buy the bulbs, but they don't get them in the ground in time and they miss out on that spring blooming.
I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. More audio coming up. Just a ton of audio from yesterday. Some of it pretty funny, and I love this one. Writers Guild, this is the story. Writers Guild instructs CBS News staffers not to answer editor Barry Weiss without more clarification. The Writers Guild of America on Monday told its guild members at CBS News not to worry about an upcoming deadline from the new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss without further clarification on what information she seeks. Weiss on Friday asked all staffers in the news division to explain what they are doing during working hours and what they believe is working or not working by Tuesday. Weiss first took over the news division last week. Huh? The union can tell you not to answer your boss when she asks you a question?
Well, there's the left for you.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. We'll get back to the so many of the audio cuts about the peace deal, but there's just other stories we want to make sure we get in there. The Writers Guild of America on Monday told its guild members at CBS News not to worry about an upcoming deadline from new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss without further clarification on what information she seeks. Weiss on Friday asked all staffers in the news division to explain what they were doing during working hours.
Yeah.
And what they believe is working and not working, and she wanted a response by Tuesday. Weiss first took over the news division last week. The Guild asked Weiss for a list of all staffers who received the email, who will have access to employee responses, and what punishment, if any, will be enacted if they do not comply by the Tuesday deadline. We are aware that Barry Weiss sent an email asking CBS employees to provide information about their jobs and feedback to CBS News. The Guild wrote to its members, many of you have expressed concern to us about the purpose of the email, and we share our concerns. That's why we sent the company an immediate demand to provide information about the email by Monday. We suggest that you refrain from responding until we are able to share the information that we receive so you can make an informed decision by the Tuesday deadline. I have never, into my 44th year overall in media, I have never gone to a third party to get clarification of anything my boss has ever asked me by email or in person.
It's like asking the bartender, hey, bartender, let me ask you. My boss is on the phone and says I need to do this. What do you think? Because again, it's what this is clearly is drawing the line in the sand. Because we asked from the beginning when we heard the story, that she's going to be the head of CBS News. We thought, well, number one, is she going to be the only person at CBS News?
Are they firing everybody?
Well, because that was the question number two. How do you repopulate the newsroom? Or do you expect things to change? And basically, what is the play? Because I'm very curious as to what management, the executives who made this decision, see as far ultimately as the makeup of the newsroom at CBS News. I don't have confidence that it's going to be true journalism. I think Barry Weiss clearly wants it to be real journalism, and it needs to be without an agenda. It's what are you thinking when you write this kind of a show your work thing when you approach this story, and I don't know how you get that, because I don't know who you find other than Barry Weiss. Again, I think Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi have other jobs, and even then, it's only two other people. It would be hard to populate with true journalists. There are some out there, but you would pretty much have to take all of them. There are so few. It would take all of the true journalists to populate that newsroom. We have some friends at Breitbart that fit that bill. We have some, there are plenty of them, that might fit that bill, to that extent, but not plenty enough to go around for all media groups. It's going to be basically everybody under one house at CBS if you did that.
Well, as I said, day one, she's not going to change 60 Minutes. No. How are you going to change 60 Minutes?
Well, is Anderson Cooper going to start, you get the clock ticking, tick, 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 tick. I'm Anderson Cooper, and you know what? I've had a change of heart. It's not going to happen.
I'm Anderson Cooper, and let's talk about the absolute abuses and the insanity of the radical transgender movement.
Yeah. Not a story you're going to see on 60 Minutes.
The problem is you don't have journalists, you have political activists. Yeah. And the problem is not that Barry Weiss is a conservative.
Because she's not.
She's not a conservative. The problem is she would have the same problem as if Bernard Goldberg, who wrote the book Bias, about CBS, and Dan Rather, and pointed out specifically what the bias was, and went to the minutia of stories and said, this is what makes it bias. And for Bernard Goldberg, when he wrote the book Bias, it was Dan Rather doing the story on the flat tax back in had to be in the 90s sometime with Steve Forbes when he was still promoting the flat tax.
Right.
And the beginning of the story started with, and now let's talk about Steve Forbes' flat tax scheme.
Yeah.
Not plan, scheme. And it was pointed out to Bernard Goldberg. And this is a contractor was working on his house. And the contractor told him when he found out what he worked for, who he was, and where he goes, well, you're in a biased network. He goes, no, we're not. He goes, well, I find a biased story. I'll let you know.
Right.
He called him up one day and he goes, look at your story on the flat tax. You started out flat tax scheme. There's everybody who talked about the flat tax was against it. Now, that's not true. And Bernard Goldberg said, you're right. You're right. He goes, because I know people that are for the flat tax.
Yeah.
He said, but it was a completely biased, one-sided, the flat tax is bad, and then you throw the word scheme in there. So he pointed it out. Well, a couple of years later, there I am. It had to be 2001, 2002. I'll never forget looking at USA Today. Great big front page article, the right-wing authors are selling. And it was like Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, Bernard Goldberg.
Huh?
As if Bernard Goldberg was a right-wing conservative,
right? Which
he was not. He just realized he was in a business and was involved in a business that was involved in political activism and not journalism.
Right.
And he pointed that out. That's the problem with Barry Weiss. Not that she's right-wing or a conservative. It's that she wishes for CBS to be more journalistic.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want that.
They don't want that. I don't know what the executives want in reshaping, if that's the goal, to reshape the CBS newsroom. But my question for them would be, have you seen the CBS newsroom? Have you watched the product? And it's not just something that's happened in recent years.
The Guild said it also wishes to ask Weiss whether the responses will be used in discipline, discharge, or layoff decisions, an explanation of what CBS plans to do with the responses, details on whether CBS will use artificial intelligence to review the responses, and an outline of the steps taken to prove the results will be non-discriminatory.
Yeah, they're looking to see if this is a line in the sand, you know?
Well, I think every time you respond to your boss, it's a possibility that you could be disciplined, discharged, or laid off.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, why? What have you...
Any response? Our boss could write to us and say, guys, what about, I heard your printer isn't working.
Yeah.
What do we do to get it fixed? And, my response would be, go to hell.
Yeah, that would be your response.
Right. I might I might be, and justifiably so, disciplined, discharged, or laid off.
Yeah.
Right.
And me and the production guys might or might not be making some popcorn to watch that whole
But by the way, I did pick, Ellen's over there laughing because I did pick our printers. They're going to be back online, but we're getting new computers in here, and the printer was down from my computer. That's the only thing I can think of in my head. I was not attempting to throw in some type of stealth complaint.
No, we're going to do that in the next segment. But
right. Yeah. So,
but because see, and journalism is different because we're opinion makers. Like you could say, I think you should go to hell. No, that's also not true. That's not a good. That's also not a good.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah, in my humble opinion, go to hell. No, it's no, but when you look at it. With journalism, again, it should be. For those under 90, journalism is, and there's the problem. When I look at the work of Barry Weiss. I look at the work of the people I believe are doing journalism. Do we have, sometimes we'll have a debate. The National Review is different because I don't consider them journalists. Those guys are writing their opinions and their views, and or the editorial board at the Wall Street Journal or something like that. But even with so-called journalists that I support, that I believe do good work, sometimes I think, well, I'm not sure they saw the point here, or they took a different angle than I would have taken, or whatever. The point is, do I believe they're being honest in their work? And with Barry Weiss, the answer is yes. But that has no place in liberal activism media today. Which is what constitutes the entire newsroom at CBS.
Well, Goldberg made it quite brief what he thought journalism was and should be done on TV. Mm-hmm. And for example, and I'm paraphrasing this. I have the book I read. I read the book 23 years ago, 24 years ago. Wow, quarter of a century since that came out. And it was simply, you start out by saying, Steve Forbes has a tax plan, and his tax plan is this. And then you cut to Steve Forbes. Here's what I would do. This, and this, 21%. And, across the board, I believe would do this deduction here. We went to two different economist, one who believes it's right, one who believes it's wrong. You get to both of them, and then you come back with maybe a couple more questions to Steve Forbes on it, and then you break, and that's it.
Right.
No scheme words, no anger, and you simply bring up a person from each side of the particular issue. Look, you and I are opinionated, but how many times, especially when a story is new, do we say, have we covered everything here? What am I missing?
Right.
How many times have I said that to you?
Yeah.
On this issue here, what am I missing? Am I missing anything?
Right. Yeah.
What would the other side be for this story? Because we want our opinions to be as strong as possible. And if you're going to convince people, if people go, well, yeah, my uncle who died, he said, and even though he was more liberal, he said, the one thing about you is you always explain what you believe. And at the end, I realized that every issue that you believe in has a moral basis to it.
Right.
Where at times he didn't believe that conservatives had a moral basis. Once I explained why and then how things should be done, he said he understood that. So I think it's important that even if you're an opinion maker, to do that. Not just throw out the opinion or the meme or the slogan,
right,
but to explain it.
Yeah.
And that's why at times, even in opinion media, you can have more journalistic behavior than what you see in the mainstream media. because at least we're honest and tell you what we're doing.
And
when they say they're journalists and they're not, they're lying to you.
And the reason we use liberal activists is because they are just that. They see themselves as heroes of social justice warriors with a job that has that kind of power, leverage, and reach and influence. And that's not what journalism is about.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Just the whole Barry Weiss thing, I find it interesting that the Guild can have that much power, or if they have that much power, whether the management of the CBS would just say, I'm communicating with my employees.
Right.
This got nothing to do with contracts. This has nothing to do with hours worked.
Right.
This has nothing to do with pay. This has nothing to do with their seniority. This has to do with work communication and the goals that we have between the boss and the employee. Guild, you have no business being involved in this.
They're trying to draw the line in the sand. Have her give you an ultimatum. She can't fire you if you don't do this. This is because it started right away. The rejection of Barry Weiss,
which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, this was going to be a thing. We knew this was going to be a thing, and the Writers Guild, of course, wants to be a hero.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.